Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of the AD Think Tank on the Educational AD Podcast. Well, we will be right back with this week's Think Tank guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, hold on, don't hit that fast forward button. These are all companies I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. Now they're sponsors, but I recommend them to you highly. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Think Tank expert. Then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to thank K-12 Sports Tech for sponsoring these Think Tank segments. K-12 Sports Tech is here to help athletic directors and sport vendors connect through education and hands-on consulting, and they want you to join the AD Think Tank. Help influence how companies shape their tech to better serve schools. To find out more, just go to www.k12sportstech.com. That's k12sportstech.com. We also want to thank our good friends at Snap. If you've ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results, well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with great success because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's snapraise.com. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Whether it's online tickets or a whole lot more, the Hometown team is here with more support, more security, and more customization. Go to hometownticketing.com for more information. It's digital ticketing that offers more. We also want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant AD, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and it was a great experience. It's very reasonable, just 20 months, totally online. And you also get 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Call 800-730-2753 for more information about the Ohio University Online Masters. We'd like to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables, and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to check out their great products. You've heard me say before, probably the best purchase I ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. We want to thank our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. When I became an AD, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. We want to thank our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to show off your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or to show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. It's also a great way to share your school's history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check them out today. We want to say thanks to our friends at Athletic Surveys. You know, athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a small group that only wants to complain. Athletic surveys will connect you to that group so you can hear their concerns, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And having that data, that positive data, is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. Athleticsurveys.com. We want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com, and their team is going to have you creating world-class content in seconds. Whether it's a social media post to celebrate a big win or an entire newsletter sharing all the great things that you and the athletic department is doing, the Gipper team will have you up in seconds. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com. It's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college programs. Like I said, it's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com to get started. Home Campus is another one of our great sponsors, and it's a platform that you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, results, and even if your state has a platform for you to do all of that, the athletic clearance and eligibility platform on Home Campus alone is worth the price. Go to homecampus.com for more information. Don't forget to mention the podcast, homecampus.com. Like I say, you're going to be very glad you did. Welcome back, everybody, to a segment that we call the AD Think Tank. It's sponsored by K-12 Sports Tech. We have a great guest today. All of our guests are great, but truly a great guest today. Longtime listeners to the podcast will recognize the name Dan Comeau. Dan was on the original season of the Educational AD, longtime athletic director here in the state of Florida. He's a certified master athletic administrator, was very active, still is, at the state and even the national level. And Dan actually had the very first, I'm going to say, weekly segment on the podcast, the Mentoring Minute. And those episodes are still available on YouTube. And, we took those segments and Dan turned them into a book called The Mentoring Minute, which is available on Amazon. So we'll talk more about that, but tremendous resource. And I was just so excited that he was able to join us for these segments. So Dan Comeau, welcome to the AD Think Tank.
Jake, thanks for having me back. It's great to see you again.
Well, again, you and I'll tell the story one more time for these listeners. I had moved to Florida in 2000. It was about the midpoint, I guess, of my 40-year career. And I was an AD and a head football coach at a school for, I guess, 8 years. And then I became the AD only at another school. And long story short, Dan was the outgoing president of our state association. He reached out to me and just said, "Hey, have you ever thought about joining the FIAAA or coming to our conference?" He didn't know me at all, but he knew that, hey, I wasn't a member. And that started me on my FIAAA and NIAAA journey. And I can honestly say, I don't know if anything I accomplished with FIAAA and NIAAA would have ever happened if Dan hadn't reached out to me. So just a reminder to our listeners, the importance of reaching out to others. And also when people do, reach out to you, make sure you respond and get involved. So Dan, you've been a mentor to me. You've been a mentor to, I dare say, hundreds, maybe thousands of other aspiring coaches and ADs, certainly as a coach to kids. What do you have for our listeners on your first segment of the AD Think Tank?
Well, Jake, as you mentioned, I am retired as an athletic director and enjoying every day. But I think it's important to stay active after that retirement segment of your life. And I think I've kind of diversified into different aspects of retirement life, but I still hold dearly a lot of things with athletics. I'm currently on the board of directors with the Treasure Coast Sports Commission. And a good friend of ours, Michael Stutzky, started a program with that group. It's a program that aspires to promote the student athlete, and I emphasize student athlete, not your best athlete, but your all-around student of your school. And we hosted every May. It's a 20-school program that we honor a boy and a girl from each school, and the AD picks that student as their scholar athlete, and we recognize them at Indian River State College. And Michael Stutzky again started the program, and I've taken it over since he's living on a farm in Illinois now. And we promote those students every year at a function, and we have a high-end speaker come We've had Jason Taylor. We've had Doug Flutie. We bring in a lot of big name people to come and inspire those kids to what they're going to do at the next level. So yeah, working with the Treasure Coast Sports Commission has been very rewarding. I'm also speaking at different venues, pretty much pre-planning with coaches before the season starts, talking of, and I take excerpts from the law LTIs 506, 508, 504. I'm also broadcasting football games every fall with two radio stations, WSTU and WPSL here in the local area, working with the game of the week. So it's been sometimes I think, when did I have time to work? Because I'm so busy right now, and I got a couple of other things going on. I have a little lawn service, and I drive for a Ford company. So yeah, I'm staying pretty busy.
Yeah, you and I were talking about this before we started recording, and I'm very much the same way. Where people will comment, "Well, Dan, aren't you retired? Jake, aren't you retired? You're so busy." But it's busy that we're choosing, and I think you bring up a great point. Athletic directors, we are kind of sports geeks. Whether we played sports when we were in high school or college, or just we got into it as a career, as a coach, as an administrator. When you retire from that, I'm not going to say 40-hour a week job, that 90-hour a week job as an AD. Um, Now you have some time to do some other things, and you just ran off a laundry list of some great things. Broadcasting high school football, helping promote student athletes through the foundation, and all the other things that you do. And yet, I know we're Facebook friends. I know you're out on the pontoon boat. I know you're doing a lot of other things too, and just a great, I guess, reminder to those that are still, on the job as an AD or maybe nearing retirement. Hey, you can still be involved with the profession as you are enjoying your retirement years.
You can, and I think even during the profession, as a athletic director, you can get lost really quick in the long hours that you put in, but you've got to make time for family. You really do. That's so important, because after your retirement, family's still there. The job's not, but family's still there, and you want to have a comfortable place to fall, basically.
Yeah, it's such a great point. And again, for a listener, you might not be familiar with Dan. He checked all the boxes as a leader, as an educator, as an AD, and also as a family man. Um, I just had this conversation. I just did a presentation recently for FACA, and I didn't invent this, but I heard it and I've stolen it like any good athletic director will. We should all, as ADs, as coaches, we should all aspire to one day be selected for our organization's, if you will, Hall of Fame. That's not narcissistic. That's not selfish. It's aspiring to be the best that you can be. But you need to remember, like Dan just said, would your kids nominate you to be in the Parent Hall of Fame? I think mine would. I know yours would. Would your spouse, would your partner nominate you to be in that Hall of Fame? Would your parents nominate you to be in the son or daughter Hall of Fame? Those are the Hall of Fames that we got to make sure, as Dan just said, that we're taking care of. You got to do the job, but don't forget about the family. Dan, you mentioned a couple other things that you're involved with. Go and share those with our listeners, because again, it's you have expertise, years and years of expertise as a master athletic administrator, and now you're using that expertise in a couple of different areas to help that next generation with different products. Share a couple of those with our listeners.
Well, I got involved with a company called Quick Cut, and it is basically a video analysis software company that promotes student athletes. And I guess as time goes on, other people call people other things. I guess I'm an influencer now. Never heard that before, but I talk to athletic directors. It's just it's a software and a platform, I guess you would call it, to promote your athletes, and it's a good product. And I get to go to athletic director conferences across the country and talk about it. And it's nice to travel. I love to travel, and it's just a good fit for me right now.
Yeah. No, and again, it's just another example of how you can stay involved with the profession. There's a lot of great products out there for athletic directors, whether it's platforms or uniforms, equipment, you name it. There's a lot of great platforms, but when that salesperson is at that conference talking to an AD, that athletic director is always going to look at that person as a salesperson. But now here's Dan Como, Hall of Fame athletic director, saying, "Hey, this is a good product. Okay, I've used it. You should use it." I do the same thing, obviously, with my sponsors. So again, good for you, helping athletic directors make smart choices on some what can be challenging decisions. Well, now what do I buy? What do I want for my kids, my coaches? Um, am I stumbling over myself, or was there another activity and another retirement activity that you're currently involved in? I can't
Okay,
remember the whole list.
we can back out of sports a little bit, but I do have a little lawn service that I work in the area, and as ADs, turf has always been a priority to what we do. So I worked some landscaping and some lawns around the neighborhood here, and for the elderly, and it keeps me busy and keeps me physically fit. Um, and I work for a dealership, Mullinex Ford, here in Florida, and I drive cars from one dealership to the other, and I know they're not going to break down because I only got 4 or 5 miles on each vehicle that I drive, so I'm pretty safe there. But yeah, it just keeps me going, and I just feel like if you're a retired person and you lay down, you've just ended everything. You gotta stay busy. You really do.
No, and let's go and wrap up on that. As a longtime health and wellness teacher at the high school level, we would do a unit every year. And here I'm talking to freshmen and sophomores in high school. They have no idea about aging, but one of the lessons, um, there's some pockets of population groups. There's some in the United States, there are many in Europe and other continents, but they isolated 5 factors that lead to not just longevity, living longer, but quality of life, living better. And one of those 5 factors was having a reason to get up in the morning. So you've got about a dozen reasons, outside of, family, friends, spouse that you're involved with to get up and do every day. You're not, on the shelf. You're not in the rocking chair. You are still active. I like to call it, for me, it's my chapter 3. Chapter 1 was, growing up, high school, college. Chapter 2 was, getting married, kids, family, career, and now it's chapter 3, retirement. So I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to hopefully a chapter 4 and chapter 5 too. But
yeah, me too,
yeah.
actually.
Dan, again, we talked about the book, The Mentoring Minute. It's on Amazon. Just listeners, look it up. The Mentoring Minute. Dan Como is the author. If you don't have a copy, you should have one for your desk, have one for your briefcase. And there's a number of organizations and states that use that as part of a mentoring program with athletic directors and aspiring leaders. So, Dan, beyond the book, if somebody wanted to reach out, get in touch with you, maybe have you come to their state conference and speak, or their school, what's the best way that our listeners can get a hold of Dan Como?
Probably the best way is email. I check it every day. Sometimes I get too many of them, but that's okay. I filter them out. It's DCOM EAU19 at Comcast.net.
Okay. Well, Dan, thanks again for sharing with our listeners. We're definitely going to have you back on the think tank, and all the best moving forward this winter and spring with your many activities.
Thank you, sir. Well, maybe we'll see you out on the water.
That would be a challenge, but yeah, definitely. For listeners, we want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this segment just about every week, and every day we try to share stories from the world of education-based athletics along with some best practices. So come back and join us again for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.